Hey guys, so for this video, I want to revive my Game Sense 101 series by taking a step back and talking about the basics of Game Sense. I've made tons of videos on how to get better game sense and how it can be applied to things like movement, your loadout, and gunfights, but I've never discussed the core foundation of your game sense. In order to do that, we're going to look at and analyze Bugha and his insane run to win the last Champion League Solo Cup. I'll be using his gameplay for examples and to really showcase what game sense is and all the different aspects that contribute to it. Before we start though, I wanted to let you guys all know my partner Pro Guides has added a ton of new features to their site, including exclusive guide videos for pro members every single day, up to 10 more free coaching passes for pro users, and access to every major game you can think of. So if you're interested, click the link in the description below to check it all out. With that being said, let's jump into it with one of the most overlooked components of game sense, your awareness. Your awareness in Fortnite is essentially how conscious and aware you are of everything going on around you in game. The most basic examples are being aware of where the next zone is that you'll have to rotate to, or how many materials and ammunition you have in case you get into a fight, or even tracking your opponent during a build fight. As you get more advanced, this includes how many people are alive for Storm Surge, which number zone the current circle is, and which part of the map you'll be rotating through. Let's take for example this sticky situation Bugha gets into. As you can see, he's on a zip line out in the open and finds an opponent. He obviously does not want to shoot because he has no way to build and protect himself, but he's forced to once the guy starts shooting at him. This is where Bugha's game sense, and specifically his awareness, comes into play. He has a guy in front of him and behind him, so in order to prevent being sandwiched in, he grapples up and over his opponent's builds and perfectly en route to the rift that's right there. Be honest here, how many of you guys knew that rift was there? Most people, including me, would not have. I would have been too focused on my opponent and getting to zone that I would have waited and rotated under the hill, since that was technically the fastest path. Right there is pure awareness and game sense from Bugha. No matter how fast your 90s are or how quick your edits can be, you'll end up dead there if you weren't aware of those rifts. That's why it's really important to be aware of absolutely everything that's going on around you. Now, in a perfect world, having good awareness is easy. All you need to do is constantly look at your map, at your heads-up display, and at your surroundings and the environment around you. Let's be real though, it's never that easy. What usually happens is you tunnel vision during a fight, or you lose focus and straight up space out. How can we become more aware though? First, turn up your in-game volume and make your HUD or HUD bigger. Your sound is extremely important in deciphering where exactly your opponents are and just generally what's going on around you. Same thing goes for your heads-up display. It has way too much valuable information to put it at 0.5 or whatever you guys lower it to. I'm not saying you have to make it huge, but make sure you can easily see everything within it. Second is to utilize this awesome tool by Resprit that's meant to improve your awareness. As soon as you get onto the battle bus, you want to play the video I'll link down in the description and put it either on your second monitor or your phone. What it does is it alerts you with different sounds when to check your map, when to check for supply drops, and when to check your resources. It's basically a timer that coincides with the set events that happen every game. This tool will remind you when to check on it in the hope that after using it for a few days, you'll eventually start checking on everything on your own, thus making you more aware and having better game sense. Lastly, you want to make mistakes and learn from them. If you die in zone because you didn't realize you had a launch pad, that should be a good enough lesson to check for your launch pad every time you're in zone from now on. If somehow it's not, then maybe write down the mistakes you keep making because of your lack of awareness. Then look at them and remind yourself of them before you play. Together, those three methods should be the only ones you need to improve your awareness. The next foundation of your game sense is your game knowledge. Basic examples are knowing all the different types of weapons in Fortnite and their rarities, or knowing where chests spawn in each POI, or knowing how much health and shield each type of utility item will give you. Higher level game knowledge includes knowing exactly how much damage each weapon does, knowing how many people need to be alive in order for Storm Surge to kick in during scrims and tournaments, or knowing the optimal place to drop from the battle bus for your landing location. Basically, your awareness is being aware of all the information around you. Game knowledge is knowing what that information means, why it's important, and how you can use it to your advantage during the game. One example from Bugha's solo cup run is this mid-game fight in Pleasant. At full speed, it doesn't look like anything special outside of some good box fighting. If I slow it down though, the first piece of game knowledge comes in the fact that Bugha chooses to spray initially with his TAC SMG. He's aware his opponent is trying to turtle and knows that the TAC SMG's insane fire rate coupled with the turbo building nerfs means he can easily get shots through the wall. The next piece of game knowledge is when Bugha is aware his opponent had just double edited the cone he's behind. So because Bugha knows how little health that cone will have, and he knows how much damage his shotgun can do, he decides to shoot the cone and replace it with his own stairs. Last is that even though he's getting third-partied from behind, which he's completely aware of, he knows based off the angle at which the third guy is shooting him, he can protect himself with the ramp he's on and safely secure the kill. Now, how can you get better game knowledge? Luckily for you guys, game knowledge is the easiest and most straightforward to improve upon. The more you play Fortnite, the more things you'll pick up on, and the easier it will be to remember all the details. That's why I always recommend watching YouTube videos and streamers, because while you may not be playing, watching it is just as good for gaining game knowledge. The final aspect of your game sense foundation is decision making. I've made a few videos on this topic already, so I won't repeat what I've said then, but I want to show how decision making works with your awareness and game knowledge. Let's look at this clip here. Bugha is in a decently stacked endgame and makes the decision to go for high ground. He does a clean Bugha jump, a 180, and takes it with ease. You gotta realize though that this is at 94 points in the Champion Cash Cup. He is not up against bad players by any means, yet he makes them look like complete bots by how effortlessly he took height. What it comes down to is decision making and timing. Bugha was aware of the guy on high ground and knows how weak his builds are since he's tarping out with wood. He's also aware the guy is too far forward to rebuild it, so he knows he can easily shoot it out and decides to go for it. However, he does not immediately go up for high ground. He waits about 2 or 3 seconds for the zone to start closing in behind him before he goes up. Why does he do that? Well, he's aware the guy on height is focusing people in the other direction, and he knows the sound of the storm and all the shooting will be louder than his builds. That's why the dude on high ground doesn't even turn around. His lack of awareness allowed Bugha to build over him in seconds. So in the end, Bugha's decision making helped him get high ground, but he made the right decision based off his awareness and game knowledge. That's why all 3 parts of your game sense are so valuable and how pro players can make them work together. A very interesting and helpful way to improve your decision making is to put active thought and narrating all your decisions. You ever notice how Tfue or Bugha will talk about why they're making a certain decision to their chat? That's essentially them thinking out loud and reaffirming why they're making the decision they are. The reason it helps is because it ups their awareness, it gets them out of autopilot, and makes them truly think about what they're doing. Most people overlook this and never do it themselves because the thought of talking to yourself alone is weird, but we all do it all the time. We just do it in our heads. This is good, except when you're unconsciously making decisions and not really thinking about them. By talking out loud, however, you're fixing it and making your decision making conscious. Overall, the core of your game sense comes down to awareness, game knowledge, and decision making. Things like positioning and movement are a product of it, but they aren't the foundation of game sense. If this video helped and you want me to make more Game Sense 101 episodes, then do be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and to turn on post notifications. Shout out to everyone using code Jarian. Your support has been insane for months, and I honestly can't thank you all enough. Otherwise, that's it from me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.